Hey, Kate,
Yeah?
do we give legal advice on this podcast?
Oh, gosh, no.
Hostile work environment.
Exactly.
Hey, an appropriate workplace topic.
Hostile work environment.
Shut up.
I'm the Human Resources Director, Little Miss Hostile Work Environment.
Welcome to the Hostile Work Environment. We're back midweek. My name is Marc Alifanz, and I'm here.
I'm Kate.
Oh, hi, Kate. I was saying I'm here with
Hi.
Kate. We are back for a very, very special episode. It's midweek. We haven't come out with our second substantive episode yet, but actually, we haven't come out with our first substantive. We've recorded it, but it's not out yet. So this will be after our episode 0 and before our episode 1. But we are here because one of the new features of the podcast is that we're going to come with special stories and talk about cases and news stories that happen as they happen. And we're going to try to get those done and out within 24 to 48 hours of when the thing happens, assuming we have availability. We're here to talk today about something that happened last week. But we thought that it would be a good way to kind of set the stage here for these midweek occasional episodes. We're not going to do this every week, but I suspect we're going to end up doing some weeks where there's none, and some weeks maybe there's 2 or 3. We just don't know yet. And we want to talk about what happened last week with Tavis Smiley. And Kate, I think, is going to start to tell us a little bit here about a little bit of the background and who he is, if you don't know who he is, and what's been going on.
Well, yeah, so Tavis Smiley had his own show on PBS. And over the course of him having his own show, he had multiple consensual relationships with women. Several women or multiple women alleged that they were coerced into having sexual relations with him.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. When we say that, we mean coworkers, right?
I think they were his production assistants.
Right, so not just coworkers, but subordinate coworkers.
Yes,
Okay.
People who reported to him because they
Okay.
were on his show. So they might have reported to other people, but when, you're the host of the show, you're kind of the guy, right? And so he was having these relationships with women. And in November of 2017, at the height of the big upswing in Me Too, he was let go. And he was let go as this investigation started, or concluding the investigation that showed that there had been a settlement of at least $325,000 with one woman. And so PBS makes a decision to fire him, and he thinks this firing is a sham. So he sues PBS.
So when he says a sham, what does he mean by that?
That it was drummed up as a pretext for letting him go. So they didn't let him go in the way that they should have.
And is he saying that that was based on race or age or any other protected thing, or just that they made this up because they just wanted to get rid of him?
They made this up to get rid of him.
Okay.
He doesn't necessarily allege it's related to his race, but that this was just made up to get rid of him.
Okay.
Because he had an extensive employment agreement.
Oh, right.
And that's where this case gets super interesting.
Right.
Is that there was a morals clause in his agreement.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little what a morals clause is?
So a morals clause is generally something you put into a very high-level executive's
Right.
agreement, saying that you have to be a good person, essentially.
Right.
And I mean, that's really what it is. It's like, be a good person. Don't be a bad person. And if you are a bad person, that's grounds for us letting you go. And so PBS, in response to him suing them, brings a countersuit saying you violated this morals clause.
Wow. Okay. Good for them. That's pretty unusual. Usually it's just as a way to kind of get out of something.
Yes. But they thought, we have grounds to bring this countersuit, and they win on the countersuit.
Okay. So how did this come about? So
1.5.
1.5 million on the countersuit, and obviously the jury did not find in favor of Mr. Smiley then. They found in
No.
So because the jury is deciding both claims. They're deciding his claim that this was a fake termination effectively, and they're deciding PBS's counterclaim at the same time. So they get not only to decide one claim, but 2 claims all at once, and who's going to kind of come out and win in the end. That's crazy. Did you have a sense? I'm trying to remember from last week. How long did the jury go on this? Was it quick or?
Yeah, it was relatively quick, just a couple of days. It wasn't very long. They got it on a Monday and they were done, I think, by Thursday.
Okay.
So it was very, very fast. And so now, what do you do if you're PBS? You've won and you've got this $1.5 million judgment, which I'm also confident there's attorney's fees built into that,
Sure.
right? So now they can claim all of their attorney's fees related to that counterclaim and the $1.5 million against Tavis and try to go collect.
Well, do you think they'll ever be able to?
I'm confident he made a lot of money with
That's
them.
true.
So it's not like he's getting the blood from the turnip kind of guy, right?
So maybe it'll take a while, but
They could.
Wow. All right. And do we have a sense of whether he's going to appeal or not?
I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, he could try, but this is a jury verdict.
Verdict.
It's really difficult to overturn a jury verdict.
Right. He'd have
but
to
this is one of the first. Yeah, this is one of the first times I've ever seen a morals clause actually be effective.
Right.
And not just used for a reason for termination. Like, we can sue you for this.
Right. Well, it's, usually this is like that sword and shield kind of argument that we hear about as lawyers sometimes, where usually it's used as a shield, but here they used it as a sword, and good for them.
Yeah. I generally don't recommend morals clauses, right? Like, I don't think many attorneys think they're good ideas, but this might spark a renaissance.
Right. I mean, if you're going to do one, I try to keep it as unsubjective as you can, as objective as you can, because what is morals? Like, what are morals? What I think is acceptable may not be the same as somebody next to me. So I would have it, if you're going to put something like that in, have it really outline the conduct that's conceived of by the clause to make it have some actual teeth and maybe something that can actually be used. And I don't think either of us have seen what the clause looked like in this case, but clearly it was good enough to get them there.
Yeah, it really sparks a lot of consideration of, do we want this, and do we want to spend the money to try to get the money out of the executive too? But I mean, they had to spend a lot of money going through trial with attorneys to win this. I mean, they were already there because he was suing them, but still, the amount of money they spent on that countersuit, that's not chump change.
No, it's no joke. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. Anything else related to this before we let everybody go off this quick update episode? Just to remind everybody, we're still here.
Yes, we're still here. We're still looking for your reader stories, or listener stories. Please send them to our email address at hwepodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Twitter at hwepodcast or Salad Pants, or I'm going to start calling him Rutabaga Shorts or something like that, and K8 Fish HR Law for myself. So we'll see you guys or hear you guys soon.
All right. We'll talk to you Monday. Bye.
Bye.